Who are these people? Well, this is the brother of the former Vice President, Joe Biden. His name is Frank Biden. This is his other brother, James Biden, a fellow profiteer. This lady in the bottom left is Valerie Biden, also a profiteer. She is Joe Biden's sister. Helped run his Senate campaign. On the bottom right is Ashley Biden, Joe Biden's daughter. And in the middle with the crack pipe is Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son. All of them have been involved in nepotistic profiteering. Some of them have been involved in criminal acts, including Joe. This is Joe Biden's sister, Valerie. She worked on his Senate campaign. A little bit nepotistic, but not illegal. Maybe she was just good for the job. What's fishy, though, is she also worked for a firm named Joe Slade White and Company. The only two executives listed at the firm were Joe Slade White and herself. And yet, the firm received large fees from the Biden campaigns that Valerie was running. $2.5 million in consulting fees flowed into her firm from the Citizens for Biden and Biden for President Inc. during the 2008 presidential bid alone, according to the New York Post. How many startups do you know that get to launch from the Oval Office? Probably none. Well, here's one, Startup Health by Dr. Howard Krein. Got to go in 2011 straight to the White House and meet President Obama and Vice President Biden, and they were chosen and given massive government contracts for their company, worth millions of dollars. They hardly had a website and they're already in the White House. The day after they met the Vice President and President, they would be featured at a large healthcare tech conference being run by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And startup health executives became regular visitors to the White House, attending events in 2011, 2014, and 2015. How did they get access to the highest levels of our government? It probably helps that Howard Krein's wife is Ashley Biden, Joe Biden's daughter. You may remember the billions spent on a healthcare website that didn't work, that was supposed to tell you your new amounts under Obamacare. It never did get fixed. Joe Biden's brother Frank ought to be in jail. Aside from the profiteering rings which involved charter schools in Florida, which he nearly bankrupt, and the tens of millions of dollars that he benefited from in the Obama-Biden regime, this scumbag was involved in a hit and run where he murdered a young father who was walking to pick up his daughters and avoid paying the orphan family a single cent for over 20 years. What a guy. Listen to what Frank did to avoid paying. This guy lives in a $600,000 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom home with his wife in Florida. They each have $40,000 Range Rovers. And yet when the lawyer for the man he killed, Michael Albano, tried to garnish Frank's bank account at Wells Fargo, he found it nearly empty. Because Frank just moved the money out. He didn't want to pay. And he's made his money from lucrative contracts from his brother. It's sick. No wonder his nephew was banging his dead brother's wife and then cheated on her with hookers, one of whom he knocked up, and then he tried to deny that it was his kid. Crackheads, hit and runs. This is the Biden family. This is James Biden, Joe Biden's brother. In fact, we'll put Hunter Biden up here too, Biden's son, because they were involved in some criminal enterprises together, including the third largest Ponzi scheme in the history of the United States that you never heard of. Alan Stanford convicted in $7 billion Ponzi scheme. If it wasn't for Bernie Madoff, our Alan Stanford would probably be the world's most infamous Ponzi schemer. But a Texas jury on Tuesday still found Stanford guilty of committing a $7 billion fraud, convicting him on 13 of 14 counts alleged by federal prosecutors. And then we learned from the Wall Street Journal, Stanford had links to a fund run by the Bidens. A fund of hedge funds run by two members of Vice President Joe Biden's family was marketed exclusively by companies controlled by Texas financier R. Alan Stanford, who is facing Securities and Exchange Commission accusations of engaging in an $8 billion fraud. Well, he got convicted, we already know. The $50 million fund was jointly branded between the Bidens' Paradigm Global Advisors LLC and Stanford Financial Group entity. It was known as the Paradigm Stanford Capital Management Core Alternative Fund. Stanford-related companies marketed the fund to investors and also invested about $2.7 million of their own money into the fund. According to lawyers for the Paradigm Global Advisors is owned through a holding company by the Vice President's son Hunter and Joe Biden's brother James. I feel like this is a point where Joe Biden would say something like this. Come on, man. Here's the deal. These accusations have been debunked by Twitter and Facebook, period. You're a Russian agent. Unfortunately, these are all true, and this isn't even the beginning. Let's talk about the warmonger profiteer. Joe Biden and Barack Obama made slavery great again by bombing Libya and handing the country over to Al Qaeda. You could buy a human being for $400 in Libya after they got done liberating it from Gaddafi. All the accusations about Donald Trump being a racist, you made slavery possible in North Africa again after centuries of it being abolished. You murdered people in Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Ukraine, Libya, too many to name, and you profited from every single enterprise, including Iraq. Now, after blowing up all their homes and infrastructure, the U.S. hired itself to rebuild it, except much of the rebuilding was never done. But come and look at this contract. Guess whose name is on the dotted line? James Biden. November 4th, 2010. Hillstone International CEO visits Joe Biden, and 3 weeks later they got a contract to build 100,000 homes in Iraq. And James Biden was appointed to be the vice president of the company. The deal was worth $1.5 billion. We still haven't gotten to China, Romania, the Ukraine, what they did to Native Americans. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Now we're going to get into it. This is where it gets real dark. This is where they start really going against American interests, not just profiteering and stealing and robbing from people, maybe running over somebody's dad. This is where they start helping China steal American military technology, including nuclear weapons technology. In 2013, Vice President Biden and his crack-addicted degenerate son Hunter Biden traveled to China to meet with leaders of the Communist Party. Pay to play started right away. Having been pushed out of the hedge fund Ponzi scheme with Stratford, Hunter became a lobbyist for the online gambling, a niche everyone knows was capitalized on by the Northeast mob syndicates, including the politically connected Boston Bulger family. Whitey Bulger was at one point America's second most wanted man. However, his brother was the Senate president in John Kerry's state, Massachusetts, and his nephew became a business partner of Hunter Biden, as did John Kerry's stepson Chris Hines and John Kerry's campaign advisor, the now criminally indicted Devon Archer. The trio would set up several businesses, all with ties to Communist China. Bulger-Kerry Mueller story could be its own video. Senator Biden was now Vice President Biden, and Senator Kerry was now the Secretary of State. Their children created Rosemont Seneca Partners, a private equity firm, and within months of opening their doors, the Bidens went to China. Hunter had already failed a drug test in the Navy, but within just 10 days from meeting the communist leadership in China, the easily compromised Hunter Biden scored a $1 billion deal. That is more than Goldman Sachs, or UBS, or Morgan Stanley. The Chinese government created the Bohai Harvest RST Investment Fund. RST stands for Rosemont Seneca Thornton Group. We will call it BHR for short. BHR was comprised of 2 Chinese and 2 American organizations. Bohai Investment Fund backed by the Bank of China, and Harvest Fund Management partly backed by Deutsche Bank, a favorite of Jeffrey Epstein. The 2 American organizations were the politically connected and newly created Rosemont Seneca, founded by Hunter Biden, Devin Archer, and Chris Hines, and the Thornton Group, founded by Michael Lynn and James Bulger. Hunter was given 10% equity stake in BHR and was placed on the board of directors. Devin Archer and Chris Hines each took 10%, and Archer was also appointed to be the vice chairman. Again, the entire enterprise was co-owned by the Chinese. BHR served the Chinese military interest. Chinese military AVIC bought up an American company, Hennigs, which produced dual-use technology. But Biden and his new communist partners at BHR took 49% stake in AVIC, 51% stake in the American company. AVIC was known for stealing U.S. technology, and the deal to take over Hennigs could not have been done without approval from the highest level. Well, guess what? Barack Obama and Joe Biden approved the deal. Imagine my lack of shock. BHR also put $460 million into Face++ of the Chinese company Meg7. This was surveillance tech for China, which was used on Uyghurs to help ethnically cleanse that population. Financed by the Bidens. BHR also helped the Chinese monopolize rare earth metals, all with a blessing. But worst of all, in 2014, BHR took a minority stake in the Chinese General Nuclear industry. China General Nuclear, CGN, stole nuclear secrets from the United States, and convictions have been made. See the story of Alan Ho. But it didn't matter. The Bidens and company decided to continue to invest in a communist Chinese nuclear industry that was stealing secrets from the United States. That is treason. But wait, there's more. Another Devin, Hunter, Chris entity called Rosemont Realty was bought out by the Chinese Gemini Investments, which took a 75% stake in a company, a convenient way of paying the trio off. You may have also heard that the richest woman in Russia, the wife of the former mayor of Moscow, gave Hunter Biden $3.5 million. What you might not know is the rest of that story, because this is still yet another connection to China. Because separately from that, on May 6, 2015 to December 8th of 2015, Alina Barterina sent 11 wire transfers worth $391,968 to Bach USA. 9 of the 11 transfers went through Rosemont Seneca. Bach USA made computer tablets with an unnamed Chinese business partner. Gee, I wonder what the money was really for. There's still more on China, a lot more. These weasels weaseled their way into Burnham Assets Management, where they did business with Karen Global Enterprise Limited, as well as Harvest Global Investments, both of which are Chinese and run by communists. But finally, one of their deals had some consequences. In 2020, members of the Burnham Financial Group were involved with a $63 million tribal bond scheme. Yeah. John Galanis and his son Jason Galanis defrauded investors in a sham Native American tribal bond scheme. Instead of investing the bond proceeds as promised, the money wound up in a bank in Florida belonging to Galanis and Associates controlled company. On the board of Burnham Financial Group was Devin Archer. And the vice president was Hunter Biden. Devin Archer has been indicted along with 6 others in this scam, and Galanis has pleaded guilty. However, Hunter Biden escaped all punishment. Very Epstein-esque. The placement agents in the scheme to facilitate the transaction with customers were Burnham Assets Management and the Burnham Financial Group and Rosemont Syndicate Partners. A double whammy. They stole from indigenous Americans to profit the communist Chinese. America first, am I right? We'll come back to China because it's basically endless. But I want to touch on Ukraine a bit. Please take note of this, that all this information has been widely available even without Hunter Biden's sticky laptops of doom. For example, do emails connect Joe Biden to quid pro quo in Ukraine? Something they ironically tried to impeach President Trump for doing. Because quid pro Joe already incriminated himself twice, and it's all on tape.
The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Hey, Mr. President, Joe Biden, how are you?
Very well indeed. As usual when I hear your voice. Thank you very much.
Well, you are doing very well. Congratulations on getting the new prosecutor general. I know there's a lot more that has to be done, but I really think that's good, and I understand you're working with the rod in the coming days on a number of additional laws to secure the IMF. But congratulations on installing the new prosecutor general. It's going to be critical for him to work quickly to repair the damage Shokin did. And I'm a man of my word. And that now that the new prosecutor general is in place, we're ready to move forward in signing that new $1 billion loan guarantee. And I don't know how you want to go about that. I'm not going to be able to get to Kyiv anytime soon, meaning the next month or so. And I don't know whether you could either sign it with our ambassador, or if you came here, we could sign it, or if you want, we're inviting Groisman here later. I'm going to be talking to him later this morning, not for that purpose. We're inviting him to Washington, and so I'll leave it up to you as to how you want that done and when you want it done.
Can you imagine if there was a phone call like that made by President Trump? He would have been impeached and convicted. But Joe Biden can do it, and the mass media doesn't even want to report it. Now, this next segment, I have to give you a little bit of background information on these guys before we tie it up with a Biden bow. This is Ng Lep-sung. He's a Chinese billionaire who got 4 years. Ooh, 4 years. That's what happens when you're a billionaire. For, bribing the UN, which included $1.7 million bribe to John Ash, who took it. John Ash was also convicted, but he got Epstein. They said a barbell fell on his neck while he was lifting weights at his house. Right. Sung's name also popped up in the Panama Papers for illegal contributions to the Clintons, all of which he was found guilty for. Anyway, some of the goobers dealing with these bribes also were dealing with bribes from this guy, Patrick Ho, who also got convicted after trying to bribe governments in Chad and Uganda on behalf of a giant Chinese energy company. The founder and former chairman of China Energy, Yi Jianming, has tried to distance himself from Patrick Ho and the other goobers. Patrick Ho, interestingly, couldn't get African despots to go along with his bribes, but he got the Bidens to say yes, gifting Hunter Biden a 2.8 carat diamond and a thank you note, to which he was awarded contracts for natural gas in Louisiana on Monkey Island. Upon being arrested and not being able to weasel his way out of it, Patrick Ho made 2 phone calls to James Biden looking for Hunter Biden. He got convicted and ended up at MCC, the same jail as Jeffrey Epstein. But he, like Ng Lapsang, also tried bribing the UN with a little bit more success. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres tried to prevent an audit from the China Energy. Why? Because he had a conflict of interest. He and his officer, Admiral Dossel and Nakhil Seth. Antonio refused throughout 2018 to begin any UN audit into China Energy, while there was the U.S. versus Patrick Ho case going on. Why? Because Guterres, former Prime Minister of Portugal, was sitting on the board of the Gulbenkian Foundation, which was trying to sell its Partex oil affiliate to China Energy. So they would stonewall the investigations into China Energy at the UN, but Patrick Ho would be convicted anyway for the bribe attempts that he made in Africa, and he would run to the Bidens for help. Antonio Guterres' goober, Amir Dossel, also sat on the board of a very interesting, now infamous company, and I think I will let you see him introduce that company and its founder himself.
I'm now going to invite the person who has been the inspiration behind the Sustainable Oceans Alliance, who really has something called Terramar Project. She controls the oceans around the world. If you were to look at the website, you have the opportunity to buy up parts of the ocean through her. And therefore, I invite my dear friend, Ghislaine Maxwell, to tell us how we can own the oceans. You have 3 seconds. Thank you. Please.
I'll do my best. First of all, Your Excellencies, Presidents, Lords, ladies and gentlemen, I just would like to thank you so much, and it's such an honor to be here.
Don't worry, I'm not going to make you listen to that witch. Now here's the fun part. I hope you know who that is. Ghislaine Maxwell was Jeffrey Epstein, international kidnapper and child rapist, right-hand woman. It's a little bit odd, and this is all before the sticky laptop, by the way, that the Biden family bought up property on Water Island adjacent to Little St. Jeffrey's, an island of child rape. And you are going to find out when these other hard drives and laptops are revealed. You are going to see just how sick it gets. Rape, human trafficking, incest. There is no bottom to the Biden crime syndicate. Corn Pop was a good man.